Smile, the gateway to inner peace. Have you ever noticed how one single smile can change the entire rhythm of your day? Maybe it's a stranger at the coffee shop who looks up and smiles at you unexpectedly. Maybe it's the warm smile of someone you love when you walk through the door. Or maybe it's the rare but precious moment when you find yourself smiling quietly, for no reason at all. A smile looks so simple, yet it carries a power that can shift the energy of your whole being. Section 1. The smile beyond the surface. Now, let's pause for a moment. What is a smile, really? Is it just the curve of lips, the movement of a few facial muscles? Or is it something deeper, something born from within? Buddhist teachings often remind us that a genuine smile is not about hiding pain or pretending to be happy. The Buddha himself is often depicted with a soft, serene smile, not the kind of smile that denies suffering, but one that embraces life in its entirety. That smile reflects inner awareness, a mind at peace with reality. Think about it. We often smile out of politeness, don't we? At work, in social situations, even when we don't feel like it. But those smiles sometimes feel hollow. The smile of inner peace is different. It doesn't force itself. It blooms naturally when the heart is calm, when the mind is free, even just for a moment, from its endless chatter. Section 2. A story of the Buddha smile. There's an old story that tells of the Buddha one morning simply looking out at the trees, the flowers, the monks around him, and he smiled. One of his disciples asked, "Master, why are you smiling?" The Buddha didn't answer directly. Instead, he invited them to sit silently with him. In the quiet of the morning, the disciple began to notice the coolness of the air, the rustling of leaves, the rhythm of his own breath. Slowly, he too found himself smiling. The Buddha's smile wasn't about words or explanations. It was a mirror, a reflection of the peace he carried inside. And by simply being in that presence, others were invited into that same state of calm. That's the mysterious energy of a smile that is born from awareness. It doesn't just change you, it changes the space around you. Section 3. The energy of a smile in everyday life. Let's bring this into our modern world. Imagine you're sitting in traffic after a long day, frustration building up. You take a breath, and for just 1 second, you let yourself smile. Not because everything is fine, not because traffic disappears, but because in that breath, you realize you are still alive, you are still breathing, you still have this precious moment. That simple smile can melt away the tightness in your chest. Or imagine walking into a room where everyone is stressed, rushing, caught in deadlines. If you enter with a calm, genuine smile, the atmosphere shifts. People may not even realize why they suddenly feel lighter. It's because a smile carries the energy of your inner state. When your smile is born from peace, it becomes contagious. Section 4. The inner gateway. This is why we call the smile a gateway to inner peace. It's like a key that unlocks the door inward. When you smile mindfully, it brings your awareness back to the present. It softens the grip of negative emotions. It reminds your body to relax. Science even supports this. Studies show that smiling can reduce stress hormones, lower your blood pressure, and release endorphins, the body's natural feel-good chemicals. But beyond the science, there's something more subtle. A smile sends a message to your own heart. It whispers, "It's okay. You can rest here." And isn't that what so many of us long for? Not just happiness as an escape, but peace that stays with us even when life feels messy? Section 5. A personal reflection. I remember a time in my own life when everything felt overwhelming. Responsibilities, worries, the sense that nothing was in my control. One morning, sitting with a cup of tea, I caught myself smiling, at the steam rising, at the warmth in my hands, at the silence of that moment. It wasn't a loud, joyful smile. It was small, gentle, but it felt like the first time in weeks that I could breathe. That moment taught me something. Peace doesn't always come in big breakthroughs. Sometimes it sneaks in through a simple smile. Section 6. A question for you. So let me ask you, when was the last time you smiled? Not for anyone else, not to be polite, but just for yourself? Just for the sake of being alive? How would your day change if you chose to pause, breathe, and smile at random moments? Not because everything was perfect, but because you wanted to open that inner gateway. Section 7. The smile as practice. In Buddhism, smiling can actually be a practice. Teachers often suggest that when you breathe in, you simply know that you are breathing in. And when you breathe out, you smile. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. Such a simple sentence, yet so profound. Try it right now, wherever you are. Inhale deeply. Feel your body soften. Exhale slowly, and smile, just a little. Did you feel that? Even for a second, something shifts. The tension loosens, and your mind tastes peace. This is the gateway. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Section 8. The deeper meaning of the smile. Here's the truth. A smile is not about ignoring pain. Life is filled with challenges, loss, grief, uncertainty. The Buddha never denied this. In fact, he began his teaching with the reality of suffering. But the smile of awareness is a declaration. Yes, life is difficult, but I can still meet it with calm. It's not a naive smile. It's a wise smile. A smile that says, I see things clearly, and I choose not to be consumed. Section 9. An invitation. So today, I invite you, find moments to smile. Smile when you notice the sky turning pink at sunset. Smile when you hear the laughter of a child. Smile when you catch yourself making mistakes, because it means you're still learning. And smile when you breathe, simply because you can. Each smile you nurture from within is like planting a seed of peace in your own heart. Over time, those seeds grow, and you begin to carry that peace with you wherever you go. A smile is not just a curve on the face, it is the energy of your mind, the doorway to inner calm. Remember this, a real smile does not begin on the lips, it begins in the heart. And when it does, it changes not only your day, but the days of everyone you touch. So, will you smile today? Not to hide, not to pretend, but to return to yourself? In the next video, we'll go deeper into this journey and explore why a smile nourishes positive energy and how it can transform the people around you. Until then, may your day be filled with gentle breaths and a smile that truly comes from within. The energy of a smile. They say sunlight warms the body, but have you ever felt how a simple smile can warm the heart? A gentle smile, even the faintest one, can sometimes shine brighter than the sun itself. It doesn't cost anything. It doesn't take effort. Yet, it has the power to lift us up when the world feels heavy. Section 1. The silent power of a smile. Think about it. How many times have you been in a difficult mood? Maybe stressed, overwhelmed, or lost in thought, and then someone looks at you and smiles. No words exchanged, just that small curve of the lips. And suddenly, you feel lighter, almost as if part of your burden has been lifted. That's the quiet magic of a smile. It's not just an expression, it's an energy that flows from the heart, reaching out to touch another heart. Section 2. The story of the Zen master's smile. There's a story told in Zen tradition about a master who rarely spoke. His students were always eager for teachings, hoping he would reveal some profound truth. But often, when they gathered around him, the master would simply sit in silence and smile. At first, the students were puzzled. Why won't he explain? Why won't he give us the answers? But over time, something interesting happened. Just by sitting in that presence, just by seeing the master's calm, gentle smile, they began to feel peace within themselves. Their racing minds slowed down. Their worries seemed less sharp. It was as if the smile itself was a teaching, an unspoken reminder that peace doesn't have to be explained. It can be felt. This is the energy of a smile. It's not only communication, it's transmission. A transfer of inner stillness from one heart to another. Section 3. Smile as healing energy. Science actually confirms what spiritual traditions have always known. When you smile, your brain releases endorphins and serotonin, natural chemicals that reduce stress and lift your mood. But beyond biology, there's something more mysterious. A smile carries vibration. You can feel it in the room. Imagine a hospital ward. The sterile lights, the smell of medicine, the heaviness of sickness. Then, a nurse walks in with a kind smile. She doesn't say much, but her presence feels like medicine itself. Patients sit up a little straighter. Fear softens into trust. Hope returns. That is the healing energy of a smile. It says, you're not alone. There's still beauty in this moment. Section 4. A personal reflection. I remember once walking through a really difficult season in life. My mind was scattered. My heart was tired. One day, I passed by an elderly man sitting on a park bench. He looked at me, just for a second, and smiled. It wasn't forced. It wasn't polite. It was simply real. And to my surprise, I felt tears in my eyes. Because in that moment, I realized how starved I had been for gentleness. His smile reminded me that kindness still exists, that peace is possible even in the chaos. That one smile didn't solve my problems, but it gave me strength to keep going. And maybe that's the truest form of healing, not erasing the pain, but giving us the courage to face it. Section 5. The ripple effect. Here's something worth noticing. A smile doesn't stop with you. It ripples outward. Have you ever seen how one person's genuine smile can change the whole atmosphere of a room? Imagine walking into a meeting where everyone is tense, shoulders tight, brows furrowed. Then, one person walks in smiling, not in a superficial way, but in a way that carries calm. Slowly, people relax. Conversations soften. Laughter even returns. Your smile has the power to shift energy, not just in yourself, but in everyone around you. Section 6. A question for you. So let me ask, when was the last time your smile healed someone, even without you knowing it? We often underestimate the impact of our presence. We think we need grand gestures, the perfect words, dramatic actions. But sometimes, it's as simple as being there, with a smile that carries compassion. What if the greatest gift you could give someone today is just that? Section 7. Smile as spiritual practice. In Buddhist practice, smiling is not just an expression, it's a meditation. Teachers often suggest smiling during breathing exercises, because a smile connects body and mind in a gentle way. When you breathe in, you calm yourself. When you breathe out, you smile. That smile is not fake. It's the natural outcome of being present. A smile doesn't deny suffering. Instead, it says, yes, suffering is here, but peace is also possible. It's a reminder that we don't have to drown in negativity. We can breathe, we can smile, and we can hold suffering with compassion. Section 8. The energy you carry. Think about the kind of energy you carry into the world. When you walk into a room, do you bring anxiety, tension, and restlessness? Or do you bring calm, warmth, and kindness? A genuine smile is one of the simplest ways to shift your energy. And when you shift your energy, you change your environment. People may not remember your words, but they will remember how they felt in your presence. Section 9. An invitation to practice. So here's a gentle challenge for you today. Try offering 3 genuine smiles. Not polite ones, not forced ones, real smiles, born from your heart. Smile at a stranger. Smile at someone you love. And most importantly, smile at yourself. Because here's the truth. When you smile, not only do you heal others, you also heal yourself. Your body softens, your mind eases, and your spirit remembers that joy is still possible. A smile may look small, but its energy is vast. It heals, it softens, it restores. And every time you share it, you are planting seeds of peace in a world that desperately needs it. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, remember, you don't need to fix everything. You don't need to have all the answers. Sometimes, all you need is a smile. Because when you smile, not only do you find healing, but you become healing for others. And in our next video, we'll explore this even deeper. How a smile connects to the wisdom of impermanence, and why learning to smile at change can set us free. Until then, keep breathing, keep smiling, and let that gentle energy flow through you. Smile and impermanence. If everything changes, if nothing in life stays the same, then how does a simple smile help us walk through all these changes? We know impermanence is everywhere. Relationships shift, bodies age, circumstances evolve. But what if, instead of fearing these changes, we could meet them with a smile? Section 1. Facing change without resistance. Most of us struggle with change. We cling to what feels comfortable, the job, the relationship, the routines we know. And when life inevitably shifts, we resist. We fight back. We suffer. But Buddhist wisdom offers a radical perspective. Impermanence is not an enemy. It is the very nature of life. Flowers bloom and fade, seasons come and go, joy arises and passes, pain arises and passes. The problem is not impermanence itself. The problem is our refusal to accept it. Here's where the smile comes in. A genuine smile is not about denial, it's about acceptance. When you smile at change, you are saying, I see you. I accept that you are part of life. That soft smile turns fear into openness. It transforms resistance into peace. Section 2. A story of impermanence. There's a teaching story about a monk who carried a simple cup. Every morning, he would hold it in his hands and say, "This cup is already broken." To anyone else, it looked whole, solid, perfect, but he smiled at it as though it was already shattered. Why? Because he understood impermanence. He knew one day the cup would break, just as all things do. By smiling at its eventual loss, he was free to enjoy it fully in the present. He didn't cling. He didn't live in fear. Instead, he appreciated it more deeply. Can you imagine living that way, with the awareness that everything is already changing, already moving toward its own transformation? That awareness can bring grief, but it can also bring incredible freedom. Section 3. How a smile softens impermanence. Now think about your own life. Have you ever gone through heartbreak? Maybe the end of a relationship, the loss of someone you loved, or even the closing of a chapter in life. At first, it hurts. It feels unbearable. But as time passes, the pain shifts. One day, you look back and realize you survived. You grew. You even discovered strength you didn't know you had. When you smile in the face of impermanence, you're not pretending the pain isn't real. You're reminding yourself, this too shall pass. Just as winter eventually yields to spring, sorrow eventually makes way for new life. A smile doesn't erase change, it softens it. It makes the waves of impermanence easier to ride. Section 4. A personal reflection. I remember a season in my life when I was holding on tightly to something that was slipping away. The more I clung, the more I suffered. One day, during a meditation session, the teacher simply said, "Breathe. Smile at the impermanence." At first, I resisted. How could I smile when everything felt like it was falling apart? But then I tried it. Not a big smile, just a small, quiet one. And something shifted. That smile didn't fix my circumstances, but it reminded me, change is not the end, it is the path. And in that acceptance, I felt a surprising peace. Section 5. A question for you. So let me ask you, what change are you resisting right now? What are you holding onto so tightly that it's causing you pain? What would happen if, just for a moment, you took a breath and smiled at it? Not to dismiss it, not to push it away, but to acknowledge, yes, this too is impermanent. And that's okay. Section 6. Smile as a practice of freedom. Smiling at impermanence is not about becoming passive or indifferent. It's about liberation. When you accept change, you're free from the chains of attachment. You begin to see that every ending is also a beginning. Every loss makes space for something new. Imagine smiling as you watch the leaves fall in autumn. Imagine smiling as you notice gray hairs appearing in the mirror. Imagine smiling even at your own mistakes, because you know, they too will pass, and they too will teach. That's freedom. And it starts with a simple smile. Section 7. The wisdom hidden in impermanence. Here's a paradox. Impermanence, the very thing we fear, is also what makes life beautiful. Think about it. If flowers never faded, would we cherish their blossoms so deeply? If children never grew up, would we treasure their small, fleeting moments of innocence? If life never ended, would we truly value the gift of each day? Impermanence is what gives life its intensity, its depth, its urgency. And when we smile at it, we unlock its wisdom. We realize every moment is precious because it will never come again. Section 8. The ripple of acceptance. When you smile at impermanence, you don't just heal yourself, you influence others. People feel it. They see that calmness, that ease in your presence. Imagine how powerful that is in a world that constantly fights against change. Instead of being swept away by fear, you become an anchor. Your smile becomes a quiet teaching, just like the Zen master smile. You remind others that it's possible to live with change gracefully, without panic, without despair. Section 9. An invitation to practice. So here's a simple practice for you. Next time something changes in your life, whether it's big or small, pause. Take a deep breath. Smile. Whisper to yourself, this too shall pass. Try it when the weather shifts unexpectedly. Try it when plans fall through. Try it when life surprises you with both joy and sorrow. That small smile can become a bridge, carrying you across the waves of change with dignity and peace. Impermanence is not something to fear. It is the essence of life. And when you learn to smile at impermanence, you stop clinging, you stop resisting, and you start living with wisdom. A smile at change is a smile at truth. And a smile at truth opens the door to freedom. So the next time life shifts beneath your feet, remember, you have a choice. You can resist, or you can breathe and smile and let the wisdom of impermanence carry you forward. In our next video, we'll go even deeper, exploring how a smile connects to compassion, how smiling with a compassionate heart not only transforms you, but also heals the world around you. Until then, breathe deeply, smile gently, and remember, every moment, because it passes, is infinitely precious. Smile and compassion. Have you ever seen a smile that warmed your heart instantly? Not the polite smile we give at work, not the forced one for a photograph, but a smile so real, so kind, that you felt safe, accepted, maybe even healed, all in just one glance? That is the smile of compassion. Section 1. The healing power of a compassionate smile. A compassionate smile carries a different kind of energy. It's not about happiness that everything is perfect. It's not about hiding pain. It's about seeing another person suffering and silently saying, I see you. I'm here with you. You are not alone. Think about the last time you were struggling and someone, maybe a friend, a stranger, or even a child, gave you a soft, compassionate smile. Didn't it feel like a gentle hand on your shoulder? Like a reminder that the world is not as cold as it sometimes seems? That's the healing power of compassion. Section 2. The Buddha's Smile. There's a story often told in Buddhist tradition. People would come to see the Buddha, some with anger, some with sorrow, some with desperate questions. And before he even spoke a word, he often just smiled. Why? Because his smile wasn't saying everything is fine. His smile was saying, I understand. I love you. You matter. That smile didn't fix people's problems, but it touched something deeper. It reminded them that they were seen with kindness instead of judgment. Compassion doesn't always need big actions. Sometimes it starts with something as small as a smile. Section 3. Compassion in everyday life. We live in a world where everyone is carrying invisible burdens. The colleague who snaps at you might be caring for a sick parent. The stranger who looks angry might have just lost their job. Even the friend who says, I'm fine, might be holding back tears. Imagine if, instead of reacting with more tension, we offered them compassion, a smile that says, I don't know your pain, but I care. It sounds simple, almost too simple. But sometimes, the simplest gestures have the deepest impact. Section 4. A personal reflection. I remember one afternoon when I was going through a very heavy time. I had just lost someone close to me, and I was walking down the street with my head down. An older woman selling flowers caught my eye. She didn't know me. She didn't say a word. She just looked at me and gave me the gentlest smile. It didn't erase my grief, but in that moment, I felt less alone. That one smile carried compassion, and compassion carried me through another day. Have you ever experienced something like that, where just one small act of kindness shifted your entire emotional landscape? Section 5. Science meets spirituality. Even modern science is beginning to affirm what ancient wisdom has taught us. Compassion is contagious. Studies show that when you see a compassionate smile, your brain releases oxytocin, the hormone that builds trust and connection. Your nervous system calms down. Stress decreases. Your heart rate softens. It's as if compassion reprograms the body to feel safe again. And when we feel safe, we can heal. So when the Buddha smiled with compassion, he wasn't just offering spiritual comfort, he was literally helping people's bodies and hearts move toward balance. Section 6. A question for you. Think about it. How often do you use your smile as an act of compassion, rather than just a social mask? When was the last time you intentionally gave someone a smile, not to get something, not to impress, but simply to say, I care. You are worthy of love. Section 7. Compassion versus pity. Now, there's something important here. Compassion is not pity. Pity looks down on someone, as if saying, poor you, I'm better off than you. But compassion is horizontal. It says, I see your suffering, and I know suffering too. We are in this human journey together. That's why a compassionate smile doesn't create distance, it creates connection. It dissolves walls. It turns strangers into fellow travelers. Section 8. Compassion for yourself. And here's something we often forget. Compassion is not only for others. It's also for ourselves. How many times have you been harsh on yourself, blaming, criticizing, wishing you were better, stronger, smarter. What if, instead, you paused, looked in the mirror, and offered yourself a smile of compassion? Not a fake smile, but a smile that says, I know you're trying, I know you're hurting, and I love you anyway. That kind of self-compassion is not weakness, it's strength. It's the ground from which all other compassion flows. Section 9. The ripple effect. The beauty of a compassionate smile is that it never stops with you. When you smile with compassion, you plant a seed in someone else's heart. Maybe they carry it to their family. Maybe their family carries it to a stranger. And suddenly, a simple smile begins to ripple outward, like circles in a pond. You may never know the full effect of your compassion, but trust me, it goes further than you think. A compassionate smile is not just an expression, it's a gift. It's a quiet revolution in a world that often feels divided, rushed, and cold. When we smile with compassion, we heal ourselves. We heal others. We remind one another that beyond all our differences, we share the same longing, to be seen, to be loved, to be at peace. So I invite you, this week, offer someone a compassionate smile. Not a forced one, not a quick one, but a real one. You may never know how much it means, but I promise it will matter. And in our next video, we'll explore another dimension of the smile, how smiling with mindfulness can bring you fully into the present moment and awaken you to the richness of life as it unfolds. Until then, breathe deeply, smile kindly, and remember, your compassion has the power to change the world, one gentle smile at a time. The smile of mindfulness. Did you know that a simple smile can bring you back to the present moment instantly? There's something so ordinary about a smile that we often overlook its depth. We think of smiling as just an expression, a polite gesture, or a response to happiness. But have you ever noticed how a smile can shift your entire state of being? Not a fake grin, not a social mask, but a real, gentle smile that comes from within. Imagine this. You're rushing through your day, stressed, juggling emails, phone calls, maybe even traffic. Your mind is scattered in 10 different directions. Then suddenly, you pause. You take one deep breath. And as you exhale, you let a soft smile form on your lips. Instantly, something changes. Your shoulders relax, your heartbeat steadies, and you feel a small but undeniable sense of peace. That moment, right there, is mindfulness. Mindfulness is often spoken about like it's a complicated practice. Meditation cushions, retreats, hours of silence. But in reality, mindfulness can be as simple as smiling. A smile is like a doorway. When paired with a conscious breath, it brings you back from your worries about tomorrow, back from your regrets about yesterday, into this one precious moment. I once heard a story of a Zen master who told his students, when you breathe in and you know you're breathing in, that's mindfulness. When you breathe out and you smile at your out-breath, that's happiness. So simple, so ordinary, and yet so profound. Let's try something together right now. Wherever you are, pause. Take a slow breath in. Hold it for a second. Now breathe out gently, and with that exhale, just let a small smile arise. Feel what happens. Do you notice how the present suddenly feels clearer? How even if nothing outside has changed, something inside you has softened? That's the practice we are talking about. Some people might say, but how can a smile really change anything? My problems are still there. And that's true. A smile doesn't erase the bills, the illness, the arguments, or the grief. But what it does is shift you. It brings you into a state where you can actually meet life as it is, instead of being lost in the storm of your thoughts. When you smile with mindfulness, you're saying, yes, life may be complicated, but right now, in this very breath, I am alive. And that is enough. Think about the moments when you've been fully present, watching a sunset, listening to your child's laughter, feeling the warmth of tea in your hands. Often, without even realizing it, a smile appears on your face. That smile doesn't come from effort. It comes from being here, being aware, being awake. I remember once, during a stressful season in my life, I tried this practice. Every morning, before touching my phone, before rushing into the day, I sat for just 1 minute. 1 minute to breathe in, breathe out, and smile. At first, it felt silly, forced, but then something shifted. That 1 minute became an anchor. No matter how chaotic the day became, I carried that small, mindful smile within me. It didn't fix everything, but it gave me the strength to meet everything. And here's the beautiful part. When you smile mindfully, you don't just transform yourself, you touch others. Think about the last time a stranger smiled at you in passing. Didn't it lighten your mood, even if just a little? Our energy is contagious. A mindful smile carries peace, and when you offer it to someone else, it's like giving them a tiny gift of calm in a restless world. Now let's look a little deeper. Why does a smile have this power? Neuroscience tells us that when we smile, even a gentle, intentional smile, our brain releases neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. These are the very chemicals that elevate our mood and reduce stress. But beyond biology, there's something spiritual here. A mindful smile reconnects us to our humanity. It's a reminder that life is happening now, not later. It brings us back to the sacredness of the present breath. So I want to ask you, when was the last time you really smiled? Not because someone told you to, not because you had to, but because you felt the richness of being alive, even if just for a moment? If we learn to return to our breath and add a smile, life begins to change. Washing dishes is no longer a chore, it becomes a meditation. Walking down the street is no longer a rush to somewhere else, it becomes an act of presence. Sitting with a friend is no longer distracted by phones and thoughts, it becomes a deep sharing of this very moment. The smile in mindfulness is not about ignoring suffering. It's about creating space within ourselves to hold both joy and sorrow, both light and shadow. It's about realizing that no matter what storms come, there's always a quiet center we can return to. The breath, the smile, the now. So the next time you catch yourself lost in thought, overwhelmed, or restless, remember, you don't have to wait for the world to change before you can find peace. Just breathe. Just smile. And in that simple act, you've already stepped back into the miracle of life. Because a smile doesn't just express happiness, it creates it. Closing thought, a smile brings us home, back to the present, back to the breath. And when we live with that awareness, every moment becomes a little more alive, a little more real. In our next video, we'll explore something even deeper, how to smile even in the face of suffering, and what that reveals about the resilience of the human spirit. The smile in suffering. Can you really smile when your heart feels like it's breaking? We usually think of a smile as something that only belongs to joy. We smile when we fall in love, when we celebrate, when life feels light. But what about those other moments? The moments when life feels unbearable? When grief hits, when betrayal stings, when loneliness feels endless, can a smile still exist there? At first, it sounds almost cruel to suggest. How can anyone smile when they're standing in the middle of heartbreak or loss? But here's the truth. A smile in suffering is not a mask, not a performance, not denial. It is courage. Let me explain. When we suffer, our natural instinct is to resist, to fight against what's happening. We ask, why me? We replay the pain over and over in our minds. And in that resistance, suffering grows heavier. But there's another way. When we recognize suffering as a natural part of being alive, not as punishment, not as failure, but as part of the human journey, we suddenly open space around it. That's where the smile comes in. A smile in suffering is not pretending everything is fine. It's a quiet acknowledgement. Yes, this hurts. Yes, I am broken. And still, I am here. Still, I can breathe. Still, I can choose to face this moment with dignity. Think of the lotus flower. It grows in muddy, dirty water. Without the mud, the lotus would never bloom. In the same way, our suffering becomes the ground for compassion, wisdom, and depth. Smiling in the middle of pain is like saying, I will not drown in this mud. I will rise. I remember a time in my own life when everything seemed to collapse. Sleepless nights, a heavy chest, the kind of sadness you can't shake. And one day, almost out of exhaustion, I tried something small. I sat quietly, breathed deeply, and allowed the faintest smile to form, not because I felt happy, but because I wanted to stop fighting my pain. That smile didn't erase my grief, but it gave me space to breathe within it. It was a reminder, life was still here, moving, and so was I. Sometimes people ask, but isn't that fake? Isn't smiling in pain just pretending? No, pretending is putting on a mask to hide. This smile is different. It is real precisely because it admits the pain. It's not covering the wound, it's breathing into it. It's not saying, I'm okay. It's saying, even in this darkness, I am alive. And because I am alive, I will not let despair have the last word. Let's pause for a moment. Think about your own life. Has there been a time when you were in deep suffering, and yet, out of nowhere, a smile appeared? Maybe it was from a memory. Maybe it was from a child's hug, or the sun breaking through the clouds, or just the absurdity of life itself. That smile, however small, was not denial. It was resilience. Science even supports this. Studies show that smiling, even in difficult times, signals to the brain to release endorphins, our natural pain relievers. But beyond biology, there's something more profound. When you smile in suffering, you reclaim your agency. You say to life, "You can break me open, but you cannot take away my spirit." And this smile doesn't just help you, it helps others. Think of the people you've admired most in life. Often, they are not the ones who never suffered, but the ones who carried their suffering with grace. Their quiet smile in the storm becomes a beacon for everyone else. It whispers, "If I can face this, maybe you can too." One of my favorite examples comes from the story of the Buddha. It said that after years of struggle, after witnessing immense suffering in the world, he didn't respond with bitterness or despair. He responded with a gentle smile. Not because everything was perfect, but because he understood suffering as the doorway to awakening. His smile was not for himself alone. It was for all of humanity, a reminder that even in pain, compassion and wisdom are possible. So what happens when we practice this in our own lives? Imagine facing heartbreak not by shutting down, but by softening. Imagine grieving not by drowning in bitterness, but by holding your sorrow with tenderness. Imagine looking in the mirror, tears in your eyes, and still letting the corners of your mouth lift, not because the pain is gone, but because you trust that pain will not last forever. That smile is not weakness, it's strength. It's saying, "I choose not to let suffering steal my humanity." And slowly, moment by moment, this practice changes us. It doesn't erase pain, but it transforms our relationship with it. We no longer see suffering as an enemy, but as a teacher. And every smile we offer in those moments becomes a seed of wisdom. So let me leave you with this thought. Pain is inevitable. None of us will escape it. But despair is optional. And in the middle of life's darkest hours, a simple, mindful smile can be the difference between drowning in sorrow and rising with courage. Closing. To smile in suffering is to touch the energy of wisdom itself. It is to say, "Yes, I am hurting, but I am also alive. And I will walk through this with an open heart." In the next video, we'll take this a step further, exploring how a smile connects with forgiveness and how letting go can free not only others, but our own hearts. The smile and forgiveness. Hook. Can a smile erase hatred? Script. We all carry wounds. Some are small, like a harsh word from a friend. Others are deep, carved into us by betrayal, rejection, or cruelty. And when we are hurt, our instinct is often to hold on to it. We replay the scene, relive the words, rehearse the anger. Resentment becomes like a stone we keep in our pocket, always there, always heavy. But here's a question. What would it feel like to finally put that stone down? Forgiveness is often misunderstood. People think it's about saying, "What you did is okay." But forgiveness is not about excusing harm. It's not about forgetting. Forgiveness is about freeing yourself from the chains of bitterness. And sometimes that freedom begins not with words, but with something far more simple, a smile. Think about it. A real smile, born from forgiveness, is not forced. It doesn't deny the wound. Instead, it says, "I choose to no longer let this pain control me." That smile is not for the person who hurt you first, it's for yourself. It's a way of telling your own heart, "You can rest now. You don't have to carry this anymore." Have you ever noticed how hard it is to stay angry when you allow yourself to smile? Not the fake, polite smile we use in public. I mean the genuine kind, the one that softens your jaw, releases your breath, and melts the tension in your chest. That smile is medicine. And in the practice of forgiveness, it is the doorway to healing. Let me share a story. There was once a woman who carried resentment toward her father for decades. He had abandoned the family, and though she built a good life for herself, she never let go of the bitterness. Whenever his name came up, her body would tighten, her smile would vanish. One day, in meditation, she was asked to imagine her father as a little boy, confused, fragile, longing for love, just as she once did. And in that moment, something shifted. For the first time, she found herself smiling, not at the man who caused her pain, but at the child he once was. That smile opened the door. It didn't erase the past, but it loosened her grip on the anger she had carried for so long. This is what forgiveness looks like. It's not a single act, not a switch you flip. It's a process. Sometimes it takes years, but the smile of forgiveness is a signpost on that journey. Now, I know what you might be thinking, but what if the wound is too big? What if the person doesn't deserve forgiveness? And you're right, some actions are unforgivable if we think of forgiveness as excusing. But here's the truth, forgiveness is never about the other person deserving it. It's about you deserving peace. The anger we hold is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Resentment burns us from the inside. Forgiveness, expressed through a smile, is the antidote. Here's something powerful. Forgiveness often begins with forgiving yourself. For the times you stayed silent. For the mistakes you made. For the ways you've judged yourself harshly. If you can smile at your own imperfections, you begin to create space for compassion. And only from that space can forgiveness toward others grow. Try this right now. Close your eyes for a moment. Bring to mind someone you still feel pain toward. Notice what happens in your body. Does your chest tighten? Does your jaw clench? Now, take a deep breath. Imagine smiling, not at what they did, not at their choices, but simply smiling at the reality of this shared human journey, messy and imperfect as it is. That smile doesn't mean you condone. It means you're choosing freedom. Even science supports this. Studies show that forgiveness reduces stress, lowers blood pressure, and even improves immune function. But beyond the body, forgiveness transforms the soul. When you forgive with a smile, you open the door to love again, to trust again, to live fully in the present instead of being chained to the past. Some of the most powerful smiles in history have been those of forgiveness. Think of Nelson Mandela. After 27 years in prison, he walked out, not with vengeance, but with a smile. That smile was not weakness. It was strength, the kind of strength that builds nations and heals generations. Or think of the countless survivors of hardship who, instead of transmitting their pain forward, chose to transform it. Their smiles are like bridges, carrying humanity from hatred to healing. Forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes the other person may never apologize, may never change. Sometimes they're no longer even alive. And that's okay. Forgiveness is an inner work. You may never see that person again, but your heart will feel lighter. So the next time you feel resentment rise up, try this. Pause, breathe, and smile. Even if the smile feels small, even if it feels shaky, that smile is your declaration of freedom. Because here's the secret. Forgiveness is not something you give away, it's something you give yourself. Closing thought. To forgive with a smile is to release yourself into freedom. It is to say, the past may shape me, but it does not define me. I choose to walk forward light, not heavy. In the next video, we'll continue this journey, exploring how a smile is also the practice of letting go, and how surrender can be the most powerful form of strength. The smile and letting go. Hook. There are things in life that the harder we hold on to, the more they hurt us. But sometimes, with just a smile, we can finally let them go. Script. There's a paradox in life. We spend so much energy holding on. We hold on to people we once loved, to dreams that didn't unfold, to mistakes we wish we could undo. We grip tightly because we fear that if we let go, we will lose something essential. But here's the truth. Holding on often hurts more than releasing. The past cannot be carried forever. And when we finally loosen our grip, when we allow ourselves to let go, we don't become empty. Instead, we return to ourselves. And what if I told you that letting go can begin with something as simple as a smile? A smile, in the practice of mindfulness, is not just an expression of happiness. It is a gesture of acceptance. When you smile while letting go, you are not saying, "It doesn't matter." You are saying, "It mattered, and now I choose peace." Letting go doesn't mean you stop loving. It doesn't mean you erase memories. It doesn't mean you give up. It means you stop forcing life to be something it no longer is. You step back and allow things to be as they are. And in that space, you begin to breathe again. Think of a time you were clinging to something, maybe a relationship that had already ended, a plan that fell apart, or even an old version of yourself you couldn't quite release. Do you remember the exhaustion of holding on? The constant mental tug-of-war? And do you remember the strange lightness the first time you allowed yourself to smile about it? That moment when you thought, maybe it's okay to let this chapter close. That smile was not weakness. It was strength, the strength of letting go. One of my favorite images comes from autumn. The trees do not fight to keep their leaves. When the time is right, they let them fall. And yet, they are not diminished. In fact, they stand more clearly, more truthfully, and prepare for a new season of growth. Our lives are like that, too. The smile of letting go is like autumn's golden release. It's natural, it's necessary, and it makes space for renewal. Now, some people think letting go means losing, but I believe it's the opposite. When we let go, we gain clarity. We gain freedom. We gain the ability to stand firmly in the present moment instead of being chained to the past or pulled endlessly toward a future we can't control. Psychologists have studied this too. Clinging to resentment, regret, or unrealistic expectations can create chronic stress in the body. But people who practice acceptance, forgiveness, and letting go, often accompanied by a simple smile, report low anxiety, better sleep, and a deeper sense of well-being. Science is simply confirming what wisdom traditions have always taught. Letting go is not defeat, it is liberation. But here's something important. Letting go doesn't always happen in one dramatic moment. Sometimes it's a daily practice. Each morning, we may need to smile at the memory of what we are releasing, to remind ourselves, I don't need to carry this anymore. Every smile is like setting down a little bit of the weight we've been holding. And eventually, we find ourselves walking lighter. Let me share a story. There was a man who lost his job after 25 years. For months, he carried bitterness, replaying the unfairness, blaming himself, blaming others. He clenched so tightly to the story of loss that he couldn't see any possibility beyond it. Then one morning, walking through the park, he noticed children laughing as they chased each other, their joy unburdened. And for the first time in months, he smiled. It wasn't about the job. It wasn't about forgetting the pain. That smile was simply life breaking through his walls. In that moment, he realized, holding on was not bringing back the past. It was only stealing the present. And from that smile, he began the slow journey of letting go. Have you experienced something like that? A small, unexpected smile in the middle of pain? That's the universe whispering, you can release this. You can be free. Of course, letting go doesn't mean we stop caring. Sometimes we fear that if we let go, it means the love we felt wasn't real, or the effort we gave didn't matter. But think of it this way. Just as the ocean releases waves back into itself, letting go is a way of honoring what was, and then allowing it to return to the flow of life. Love that is real never disappears. It simply changes form. Try this practice. The next time you feel your heart holding on too tightly, pause. Place a hand on your chest. Breathe deeply. And as you exhale, smile, softly, gently, even if it feels small. Whisper to yourself, I let this go. That smile will not erase the memory, but it will remind you that you are more than your pain. It will remind you that freedom is possible. And here's something beautiful. When you learn to let go with a smile, you create space not just for yourself, but for others too. You stop projecting anger onto the people around you. You stop living in reaction. You become lighter, kinder, more open. Your smile becomes a gift to the world. Think of all the things we might release. The need to be right all the time, the urge to control, the resentment we carry, the perfectionism that suffocates us, the fear of change. What if, instead of gripping so tightly, we could smile and let them drop, like autumn leaves? Imagine how much freer, how much more alive we would feel. Because at its heart, letting go is not about loss. It's about returning. Returning to yourself, to your breath, to this present moment. The smile is the signpost that you've arrived home again. Closing thought. Letting go with a smile is not weakness. It is the deepest strength. It says, I am no longer trapped by what I cannot change. I choose freedom. And when you let go this way, you don't lose. You find yourself again. In the next video, we'll explore another powerful practice, how a smile can awaken gratitude, and why gratitude transforms not just our mood, but our entire way of seeing life. The smile and gratitude. Hook. Have you ever smiled? Simply because you realized you were still breathing. We often think that gratitude is something we feel only when life is extraordinary, when we receive a big opportunity, when someone does us a favor, when things finally go our way. But gratitude is not limited to the extraordinary. In fact, the deepest gratitude is found in the most ordinary of moments. Think about it. The simple act of breathing. How often do you notice it? How often do you pause and think, I am alive. My lungs are working. Air is flowing in and out of me. It's such a basic miracle that we overlook it every single day. But when you truly realize it, when you let that awareness sink in, you can't help but smile. Not because someone told you to, not because you're forcing yourself, but because your heart suddenly remembers how precious this moment is. Gratitude has a unique power. It shifts the way we see reality. When we live without gratitude, life feels like a series of problems to solve, goals to chase, burdens to carry. But when gratitude enters, the same life becomes a gift. The same breath becomes a treasure. The same challenges become teachers. Gratitude doesn't change the facts of life, but it changes the way we live them. Have you ever seen a child laugh at something as simple as a butterfly passing by? Or smile just because someone handed them a flower? Children remind us of what we've forgotten. That joy is often hidden in plain sight. And gratitude is the key that helps us find it again. I remember once sitting in a hospital waiting room. Everyone there was tense, worried, consumed with thoughts of illness. And yet, in one corner, there was a man holding his mother's hand. She was frail, hooked up to tubes, but he looked at her and smiled. Not because the situation was easy, not because everything was perfect, but because she was still there. Because in that moment, he still had the gift of her presence. That smile, born from gratitude, carried more peace than 1,000 words of comfort could have. This is the secret. Gratitude naturally brings forth a smile. You don't have to force it. When your heart is thankful, your face reflects it. The smile of gratitude is gentle, soft, authentic. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't try to convince anyone. It simply radiates from within. Let's pause for a moment. Right now, as you're listening, take one deep breath. Feel the air moving through your nose, into your chest. And as you exhale, ask yourself, can I be grateful for this breath? If the answer is yes, let a small smile appear. That's it. That's gratitude in action. Simple, yet transformative. Now, you might be wondering, why does gratitude matter so much? The truth is, our minds are wired for survival. We tend to notice what's wrong, what's missing, what needs fixing. This negativity bias helped our ancestors stay alive. But in modern life, it often leaves us feeling anxious, dissatisfied, restless. Gratitude is the antidote. It retrains the brain to notice what is already here, what is already enough. Science supports this too. Studies show that people who practice gratitude daily, through journaling, prayer, or even just pausing to reflect, experience higher levels of happiness, better sleep, stronger relationships, and even improved physical health. Their bodies carry less stress. Their hearts are lighter. And yes, smiling comes easier to them. But gratitude isn't only for the big things. It's for the glass of clean water in your hand, for the sunlight streaming through your window, for the sound of a loved one's voice, for the chance to start over, again and again. One of the simplest practices I've learned is this. At the end of the day, before sleeping, I recall 3 things I'm grateful for. They don't have to be grand. Sometimes it's just, I'm grateful for the taste of my morning coffee. I'm grateful for a phone call with a friend. I'm grateful that my heart kept beating today. And when I do this, I always find myself smiling. Because gratitude shrinks the distance between the ordinary and the sacred. Think about your own life. Who are the people you're grateful for? What are the moments you might have overlooked today? If you can recall even one, notice how your face softens. That's gratitude turning into a smile. And gratitude doesn't just transform how we feel inside, it transforms how we show up in the world. When you smile with gratitude, people feel it. It's different from a polite smile or a forced smile. It carries warmth. It carries sincerity. It tells others, I see the gift of this moment, and I share it with you. In this way, gratitude becomes contagious. Your smile can awaken gratitude in someone else. There's a beautiful teaching in mindfulness. When you hold a flower, don't just see it. See the sunlight that nurtured it, the rain that watered it, the soil that nourished it, the countless conditions that allowed it to bloom. Gratitude is like that. It helps us see not just the surface, but the hidden web of support that makes life possible. And once we see it, our natural response is a smile. Sometimes, gratitude is easiest in calm times, but its real power shines during difficulty. Imagine you're going through a hard season. Pain, loss, uncertainty. Gratitude doesn't deny the pain. It sits beside it and says, even here, something good remains. It might be as small as a hand to hold, a friend who listens, or the fact that the sun still rises tomorrow. To smile with gratitude in those moments is not naive, it's courageous. It says, I will not let suffering steal all my light. So let me ask you, when was the last time you smiled, not because life was perfect, but because you realized life itself was enough? The smile of gratitude is a doorway. It doesn't just make you happy for a moment. It opens you to a deeper kind of happiness, one that is stable, enduring, not dependent on circumstances. It's the happiness of being awake to the gift of existence. And here's the beautiful part, gratitude is limitless. The more you practice it, the more you find to be grateful for. It's like tuning your mind to a different frequency. Suddenly, life hums with quiet miracles you never noticed before. So tonight, or maybe right now, I invite you to try a simple exercise. Place your hand on your heart, take a breath, and smile. Whisper to yourself, thank you. Thank you for this moment. Thank you for this life. Thank you for the countless unseen forces that make this breath possible. That smile, born from gratitude, will shift something inside you. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Closing thought. The smile of gratitude is not just a gesture, it is a gateway. A gateway to happiness, to peace, to freedom. When we smile in gratitude, we are no longer chasing happiness outside ourselves. We discover it has been here all along. And in our next video, we'll take this journey even deeper. We'll explore how a smile can carry the very energy of awakening, how it can connect us to wisdom, to clarity, and to what some call enlightenment. The smile, the energy of enlightenment. Hook. If a single smile could reflect enlightenment, would you want to nurture that smile every day? There is something timeless about a smile. Not the smile that hides pain, not the smile that seeks approval, but the quiet, radiant smile that seems to come from a place beyond fear, beyond craving, beyond the constant noise of life. Have you ever looked at the statues of the Buddha? Notice his face, the eyes half closed, resting in serenity. And then, that faint, gentle smile. It's not the smile of someone who just heard a joke. It's not the smile of someone trying to please. It's the smile of awakening. The smile of someone who has touched a freedom no loss can take away. That smile is a symbol of enlightenment. But here's the beautiful truth. It isn't reserved only for sages or saints. Each of us, in our daily lives, has the capacity to nurture that same energy. Every authentic smile born from presence, from peace, from understanding, that is a step on the path of awakening. Think about it. When was the last time you smiled not because of entertainment, not because of distraction, but simply because you were? Because you realized you were alive, breathing, connected to something larger than yourself. That smile, however small, is already a taste of freedom. Enlightenment often feels like a big, unreachable word. We imagine monks in caves, years of meditation, renouncing everything. And yes, for some, that is the path. But enlightenment is also hidden in the ordinary. In the way you pause before reacting in anger. In the way you breathe before speaking harshly. In the way you look at the sky and feel wonder. A simple smile in those moments is a doorway. When you smile with awareness, you're saying to life, I am here. I am awake. I am free in this moment. And that is the essence of enlightenment, not escaping life, but being fully present within it. I remember once walking in the park. Everything was loud, traffic, people rushing, my own mind racing with worries. Then I saw an elderly woman sitting on a bench. She wasn't doing anything extraordinary. She was simply watching the trees, her lips curved in the softest smile. And in that instant, the noise inside me quieted. Her smile carried a silence that spread like ripples in water. It was as if she was silently saying, peace is possible. Right here. Right now. That's the power of an enlightened smile. It doesn't need words. It doesn't argue. It simply radiates presence, and others feel it. Now, you might ask, how do we cultivate this kind of smile in everyday life? The answer begins with mindfulness. When you breathe mindfully, when you walk mindfully, when you eat mindfully, you return to yourself. And from that return, joy naturally arises. Not a joy that depends on consumption or achievement, but a joy that comes from being fully alive. And with that joy, a smile forms without effort. This is why great teachers often remind us, sometimes your joy is the source of your smile, but sometimes your smile can be the source of your joy. Try it right now. Let your lips soften into a gentle smile, even if your mind feels heavy. Then take a deep breath. Notice how that simple act shifts something inside you. The smile becomes a seed. With time, that seed grows into energy, an energy that looks very much like enlightenment. Enlightenment is not a destination at the end of life. It is the quality of attention you bring to this very breath, this very step, this very smile. Each time you choose presence over distraction, compassion over resentment, peace over agitation, you touch it. You embody it. And when you share that smile with others, you're not just being polite. You're offering them a glimpse of freedom, a reminder that they too can rest, if only for a moment. This is why a genuine smile is a gift. It is both an offering and a teaching. Science, interestingly, supports this ancient wisdom. Studies show that when you smile, your brain releases neurotransmitters, dopamine, endorphins, serotonin, that reduce stress and increase a sense of well-being. But more than that, smiling changes how others perceive you. It opens doors, softens conflict, builds trust. And when your smile comes from mindfulness, it doesn't just change the brain, it changes the heart. Let's reflect for a moment. Imagine yourself in the middle of a storm, stress at work, arguments at home, uncertainty about the future. Your mind wants to spin, your body tenses. In that moment, if you pause, take a breath, and allow a gentle smile, something shifts. You may not solve the storm instantly, but suddenly, you are not drowning in it. You are standing in the rain, aware, alive, free. That's enlightenment in the middle of chaos. One of the greatest illusions we carry is that freedom lies in controlling life. But the enlightened smile teaches us a different truth. Freedom lies in how we meet life. Life will bring joy and sorrow, gain and loss, health and sickness. But the smile of awakening whispers, I am more than all of this. I am the awareness that sees it, the space in which it comes and goes. That realization is liberation. Think about the people who inspire you most. Perhaps it's a spiritual teacher, a grandparent, a friend who's endured hardship with grace. Often, what lingers in your memory is not just their words, but their smile. A smile that carried acceptance. A smile that carried compassion. A smile that said, it's going to be okay. That is the smile of enlightenment in human form. And you, too, can embody that. Not someday, not after achieving perfection, but here and now. Every time you choose to smile with mindfulness, you are touching the energy of awakening. You are planting seeds of enlightenment, not only for yourself, but for everyone around you. So here's a practice you can take with you. Each morning, before diving into your routine, stand still for a moment. Place a hand on your heart. Breathe in deeply. And smile. Say quietly to yourself, may this smile be a source of peace, for me and for others. Carry that smile through your day. When stress comes, return to it. When joy comes, deepen it. Over time, that smile becomes more than a gesture. It becomes your energy, your way of being. Closing thought. Let your smile be the energy of your life. Let it be the reminder that awakening is not somewhere far away, but here, available in every breath, every step, every moment you choose to be present. And in our next video, we'll continue this journey by exploring another window into awakening, the eyes of mindfulness. Because just as a smile can radiate enlightenment, so too can the way we look at the world.